Okay, this is part 2 to my situationship story. I am so excited for you guys to listen to this particular episode because what it highlights is how time reveals everything. I truly have discovered so much about myself in this connection that although it felt very unique, it felt very difficult at times, I am so glad I went through it. I hope that it can resonate with someone. Please enjoy. I take great pride in being someone who knows themselves. And sometimes I think I know myself a little too much that I get in over my head about certain things. And now that I know I'm like that, that's another thing to add to my own list, that Hailey, you do not know yourself as much as you think you do. Or you know these things about yourself, but it's not in all cases, because this particular person is so different than any other guy that I've been with. And I don't even have the proof to relay that to you guys. Like, I don't know how to describe how different he is, because honestly, he's not that much different than men as a whole. It's just that how I felt about him was different than how I felt about most people that I've met. So that's really what it was. This is where my intellectual woman senses kicked in, and I thought that I had everything under control. How cute of me. And I can laugh about it now because it's funny. Like, I am such a play it by the book kind of woman, and I have instilled these boundaries and standards with most people. And as someone who plays things by the book, I couldn't have went more off course with this situation. It's actually comedy. But anyways, let me kind of tell you how. When I saw the girl kissing on his neck and I was out with my guy friend, I was kind of upset, but I'm going to be honest with you guys. It really left my body quickly. Like, I think I was upset for like 5 seconds, and then my mentality, especially because of what I do and what I talk about and all the things that I've studied and researched and the things that I've read about love and connection and all of that, and even just people as a whole, is that this has nothing to do with me. He doesn't owe me anything. We are not exclusive. There is nothing there, and it's not personal. And I'm so grateful that I experienced this at the age I did, because when I was younger, this would feel like a personal attack. And I'm really grateful that how I show up today is so differently than how I showed up years ago. I would find ways to make what he's doing about me, when in reality, I wasn't even on his mind. That's the truth. And it's really nice to tell yourself the truth so that you can get over things easier. Honestly, time is such an illusion. And I don't recall how much time went by from the time that I saw him with his neck being kissed and the next time that I saw him again. But I do remember feeling slightly differently about him. And not even in a major way. I just think that the fascination or the intriguing part of him was no longer really present within me. I think I just saw him as a person, and that's really how you should look at people. You should not be pedestalizing people in your life, especially people that you don't really know who they are. I met him twice at this point, but I didn't know who he was. I don't know the logistics of his life at this moment, and I should let people show me who they are. That is the smart thing to do as a person. So I remember I would like go out occasionally or do things occasionally, and I would see people that would know him or know me, and they would be like, oh, he left with some girl at the bar last weekend, and 2 days in a row I saw him leaving. And I would be like, oh my God, I don't need to know this information. Like, oh my God, like I don't even know how to handle this information. And I just think it's funny that people feel like they owe me that, even though I don't need to know that. I don't care to know it. I think that I put him in like a category of really cool guy, really like him. If I see him, I'll say hello, I'll be cordial. But that's that. I wasn't like super drawn to him in the sense of I need to like sleep with him. I need to like strategize. I need to do something. It wasn't that, especially in the beginning. So much so that when I would go out to dinner with my best friend, Tiffany, she would ask me how life has been going. We both work like crazy animals, and when we get together, we kind of unpack the past few weeks with each other so we can catch up with what each other has going on in their lives. And I kind of like gave her like a rough summary of what had been going on, and I was like, yeah, I saw him, I sent him my location, couldn't believe I did that, never did that before. She's like, holy shit, Hailey, that's crazy. I'm like, I know, it was fun, I enjoyed it. And yeah, that was that. I just told her, like, this is what's been going on. She's like, oh, it seems like you're having a good time, Hailey. Like, I'm happy for you. And how me and my like married friends speak versus how me and my single friends speak is so different. My married friends, well, she's engaged, but she'll be married next year, and I'm a bridesmaid. But my married friends are a little bit more like pragmatic, but they're also like very supportive. Like, I'm really happy that my married friends don't make me feel bad about doing things that I think I used to have a lot of shame around. Like dropping my location and hooking up with a guy. Oh my God, I had so much sexual shame growing up, and even still to this day, I think I struggle with it a little bit. And it's so nice when people who love and care about you are real with you, but they also are like, girl, it's normal. It's fine. Forgive yourself. Like, let it go. And it just feels really good. Like, I think having like a healthy support system to walk you through your mistakes, or even just the things that you do that aren't always in your best interest, but they helped you grow. I love having people to support me through those times. And my best friend Tiffany is one of those people. I don't really know how much time has elapsed from the first time that I saw him, the last time that I saw him, I mean, till the next time. But I do remember I was out with my friend from the gym, and her and I were just really like talking very deeply. We were having like a very intimate conversation. We were actually walking the street of this town because it's a cute little quaint town. Like, there's shops, there's bars, there's restaurants. It's very lit up. So it was just a really beautiful night. The weather was great, and we were just chit-chatting and having a conversation. We ended up going into my car, continuing the conversation, talking about life, talking about people, and my phone lights up, and it's Dimples. And she's like, oh, who just texted you? And I'm like, remember that guy that I told you about that I had that one time with? She's like, yeah, what about him? I'm like, oh, he's texting me. So I look at my phone, and he's like, where'd you go? And I was confused because I did not see him at all that evening. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I didn't see you. He's like, oh, I saw you and you walked out. So where'd you go? And I was like, oh, I'm actually in my car. I'm going to be leaving soon. I'm just talking to my girlfriend about something. He's like, where'd you park? I'm like, where I always park. And this MFer comes running up to my car and trying to drag me out of my car to hang out with him. I look at my friend and I'm like, he's literally gonna try to hang out with us. And I said this to her before he got to my car. And she's like, oh, I mean, I'm having kind of an iffy night. I wouldn't mind hanging out with him. I'm like, okay, well, let's just see like how I feel when he gets here. Cause like, I don't know if I wanna like hang out with him tonight. Like, he's been kind of doing some shit that I've been hearing, and I don't know if I wanna get involved at this very moment. And she's like, okay, well, let's just see what he does. And he comes up to my car, and I look at her and I'm like, fuck, because this kid is so charismatic and so charming that he could make anybody excited to like have a fun night. He was like, come on, Hailey, let's go. Let's hang out. Let's go to this bar. Let's walk around. And I'm like being myself, like my usual self, which is like, come on. I'm in a dress, I'm wearing heels, I don't feel like walking around, my feet hurt, there's just no way. And he looks at me, he's like, I'll fucking carry you around this town if I have to. You won't have to walk not 1 mile, just freaking come hang out with me. And he's just so fun. Like, I don't know how to describe it, guys. I am someone who's very stoic at times, and I am a little bit unfun, even though my friends would tell you guys that they think I am very fun, which I appreciate that they say that about me. But in ratio to like what I consider fun people, I am not that. I like to be in bed by a certain time. What I enjoy is like going out to dinner or getting some sort of like latte somewhere. And I like to go on like hikes and go to the movies and things like that. Like, I don't party. I don't go to raves. I don't do crazy things. I don't really even travel. Like, I am kind of a bore. And he is not. And everything that I like about him, I end up realizing, and I'll explain this later to you guys, I end up realizing I have a lot of the qualities that I love about him. I have them within me. I just never truly tapped into them. I'm looking at her. She's smiling ear to ear. She's like, we should just go. Come on, let's hang out with them. And I'm like, fuck. All right, let's do it. And of course, we have an incredible night. And he's being his usual self. I'm being my usual self. I think I was a little bit less lovey this particular night than I was the first night we ever met, because the first night we ever met, I fell in lust. Like, I was smitten by this guy. And this time, because I know him a little bit better, I don't know him fully, but I know him a little bit better. I also know what he was doing. I remembered that he was at the bar that one night and that girl was kissing his neck. Like, that was all kind of rushing through my head. I was just a little bit more standoffish, and he doesn't read into that. He purposefully will like grab my face and kiss me, or like hold me or hug me, or he'll do like the weirdest shit. Like there was a time when I was sitting in a bar stool and he pulls my leg up and he kisses my foot in front of everyone. I'm like, oh my God, this kid is crazy. But it's like, in my mind, I'm thinking, he is so fun. And of course, my friend is like, holy shit, like he is so into you. He is literally so into you. This guy is like not looking at anything else other than you all night. I cannot believe that you've not been hyping up this connection. I'm like, girl, please, this is how he is. Do not let him fool you. Like I thought I was ahead of it. I'm like, oh, please, I'm not falling for this man. Damn, was I wrong? So I think him and I ended up going home together that night. And every time we would be intimate with one another, I would find a way to disassociate after the intimacy because I did not want to pillow talk. I did not want to create a false bond. I did not want to create any type of emotional intimacy. And I think me being so calculated about that was my way of trying to protect myself, my way of trying to get ahead of the situation and try to keep it real with myself. But if I was really keeping it real with myself, I would not have put myself in this situation in the first place. I am incapable of long-term spending time with someone and not developing feelings. That is not me. That is not who I am. I've talked about this so many times until I was literally blue in the face. I don't know why this situation felt so different for me. And I think it's because most of the guys that I've dated, they pursued me, or they maybe were a little bit nonchalant in the beginning, but then later on, they fell madly in love with me. And we dated briefly, or we dated long term, one of the two. But I usually would get the girlfriend title. Anyways, he would get dressed, he would leave, it was fine. It felt like a friends with benefits situation, honestly, because again, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I really liked his vibe, I thought he was really cool. I wasn't like super sexually obsessed with him or drawn to him, but like things were fine. Like I enjoyed being intimate. It definitely got better as time went on. Obviously, I think it's because there was definitely a connection there. That wasn't what was fueling me. Like when people say, oh, like, are you thinking with your vagina? I really wasn't with him. Like I could have spent an entire evening with him and he could have came here and we could have talked about nothing all night and I would have been fine with it. But it just ended up with us always being intimate. I would make like little jokes because I wanted him to know that I knew what he was doing, but I didn't want him to think that I was like overly upset about it because I really wasn't. I was like, oh, I heard that you were doing X, Y, and Z. And occasionally like he would say something like, oh, I bet you thought that I was never going to come home because I went back to school and we didn't speak for a while. And I'm so curious what you've been up to. Like he would ask me like, who have you dated? What have you been up to? Like what's been going on? And we would just have like friendly conversation about life and what's been happening. And I would say little things to him like, yeah, you know, I didn't really love that you didn't reach out or that we were not super clear as to what that was. And I would say little things like that, but I would try to word it in a joking way to where he didn't think that I cared deeply, but that I was being introspective about it. Like I was thinking about it. And in this connection, I'm going to be honest with you guys, with him, I did not play games and I wasn't super calculated. I think naturally I'm a guarded person at times, but I wasn't trying to like look cool, be pretty, be cool. And I wasn't trying to like lure him into a relationship with me. I genuinely just wanted him to do what he wanted to do. So I showed up authentically throughout our entire connection. I just was guarded. And that wasn't because I was trying to make him think I was guarded. It was because I wanted to be for myself. And the third time we hooked up, I remember he's getting dressed and I'm laying there on my phone. And honestly, guys, again, I'm not thinking anything, feeling anything, or at least that's what it felt like in the moment. And this is when I think things really took a turn. And he says to me, what are you doing like on Wednesday? And I'm like, huh? And he's like, I don't know, I think we should go to Sushi Lounge and get dinner. And I'm like, pardon? Like I remember being so skeptical and just like, what do you mean? Like I was like mad that he was asking me out. And I'm like, why? Why, Dimples? Why do you want to go out? And he was like, I don't know, like you don't want to get dinner with me? Like, wouldn't that be something that we could do together? And I think it triggered me in the moment because of course I wanted him to want that, but I had already made up my mind about the fact that that was not how he saw me. He didn't see me in a way that we were going to date ever, and that we were just two people who enjoyed each other. We naturally would always gravitate towards each other. I remember just being like, I don't know, Dimples, like, how about this? If you still want to go, text me this week and I will consider it. I will consider it, but I really need you to think on it and go from there, because I don't need that. It's not necessary for me. We don't need to mess up what we have. And I didn't want him to feel like he had to do that because we were hooking up. I think a lot of men think that's what women want. They want to be wanted. And I do, but by the guy that genuinely wants me, not by a guy who's pretending because he feels bad. And I made that very clear with him, that I was cool with whatever, because neither of us were ever discussing exclusivity. Of course, I was not sleeping with other people at the time, because I wasn't even sleeping with anyone before I fucking met him, let alone during. But I wasn't not open either. I wasn't someone who would like say no to a guy if he asked me out. I just wasn't seeing anyone at the time. I didn't expect exclusivity. I didn't expect him to want to do things with me, but a part of me, a little tiny feeling that I had, would flutter in my heart, because I did really enjoy him. And I thought, oh, like if he did get it together and he did do the things that I needed, I would consider going out with him. I would consider seeing my life with this person. And that's where I was at the moment. And I remember just feeling very, okay, let's see what happens. When I tell you, this man disappointed me so much. And I think it made me feel differently about him. He never reached out to me that week. He never, ever, ever took me out. And I thought, oh, we're done. Like, he's done with me. I'm done with him. It's whatever. Like, clearly he was not serious. Clearly he was just saying that because he felt bad. And I need to like stand on business, because I don't like when people make false promises and give me false hope. I'm really big on being like a woman of my word. I don't like to lead people on, and I don't like being led on. It's not necessary. We were, in my opinion, very good friends. We were friendly. We enjoyed each other. It could have just stayed there. And I felt like he was trying to take it to the next level, and I was open, and me being open bothered me in the moment. I was so bothered that I allowed myself to be vulnerable for 3 seconds in front of him, because I was doing such a good job at hiding that. Fast forward, again, time is an illusion. I don't remember exactly how much time elapsed, but I go to football Sunday, and I love going to football Sunday. I see this motherfucker, sure do. And what's so fascinating is he saw me as well, and he waved at me in like a weird way and did not approach me immediately, which normally when I would see him out, he would approach me immediately. He would like hug me, say hi, how are you, whatever. And he didn't. And I kind of was okay with that. I was like, fuck him. Like, I don't care. And I was actually pretty annoyed that he asked me out and didn't follow through. So I was kind of like, whatever about it. One of my friends ended up leaving football Sunday. My other friend stayed. And he's like waving at us. And he's like, come on over. Please come hang out. And I was like shaking my head no. I was like, no. And I think I have so much control over this situation. Like, I think I got this in the bag. Like, screw you. You're not going to toy with me. You're not going to play with me. And I noticed like little by little, like my, how do I say it? Like my feelings for him were slowly diminishing. And what was heightening was my anxiety and my anger for him. I was very angry. But in reality, and I realized this later on, that I was more so angry with myself, and I wasn't angry with him. He was exactly who he was, and I chose to not see all of the signs. So I go over there, and actually my friend was the one that brought it up. She was like, whatever happened to Sushi Lounge? And I looked at his face, and to be honest with you guys, a part of me felt bad, because I could tell from his eyes and from his demeanor that he actually genuinely felt really bad. And he like hugged me. He was so apologetic. He was very like saddened by the fact that he fucked up and that he fumbled that. And I am super aware of the fact that he had just started working, because at this point he had already graduated school. He just started working. His job has been taking over his life, and it's demanding. I think that he goes out on the weekends to escape, to be able to have like that duality of like being a professional and then being someone who can just still be in their 20s. So I think that there was like that duality that he was constantly grappling with. And he didn't realize the gravity of making a promise like that and not honoring it. That's not me making excuses for him, but it's me trying my best to see things from his perspective. That being said, I was still pretty annoyed. And I started getting annoyed with myself because I was realizing that I no longer had a grip on my control. What once I thought I was orchestrating, what once I thought I was directing, I was now in the passenger seat of this connection. He was driving the ship and I was just sitting there letting him take me wherever. He is someone who has a way with words. He has a quiet confidence about him. He doesn't give a fuck what people think about him. I wouldn't even go as far as to say that he's self-actualized. He is not self-actualized, but he presents like he is. What's so funny is that, again, I'm saying out of my mouth, I don't care, I'm done, whatever, and I'm trying my best to just keep it in a friendship way, but my eyes couldn't lie. And I knew this to be true because his friends would always like apologize like on his behalf to me. And they'd go, oh, Dimples is like a mess. And like, he really likes you, Hailey. Like, I don't know what's going on. And they would all say to me, like, you're such a great girl. Like, you guys have such a great connection. And we did have a great connection. But I think that I hyped it up in my own head. And it was because I thought that I was a master of body language and a master of reading minds. I thought that based off of how he was around me and how he gravitated towards me and how he was so drawn to me and how he was so sweet to me, that he couldn't let me go. And it made me feel good. It was like an ego stroke because although I knew that he would possibly meet other people other times, what we had was somewhat consistent and it was becoming more and more consistent as time would go on. I am someone who thinks I know what I'm reading because of my past experiences. I have literally witnessed guys that I've dated fall in love with me over time. And I thought I was kind of seeing that in his eyes and in his demeanor. When in reality, I cannot speak for him. I cannot make these things up in his head. Granted, I love myself so much that I would fall in love with me. I would love to be around me, that I kind of got it. And I was like, oh, I get it. Like, I know why he feels that way. It was just something that I was slowly realizing was affecting me. My eyes were telling a different story than my words. Like, my words were like, I don't care. It's fine. I would just act like I didn't really care. But my eyes were saying, oh, you're in a spell. Whatever he has on you, his charisma, his charm, how he presents, his aura, his energy, you love it. You love being around it. And you can't let it go. Like, you can't let it go. And you don't have as much of a hold on it that you think you do. You think that you are controlling it, but you're not. And I don't really want to get too into the things that I have heard through his friends or people because that's kind of personal. But let's just say that the things that were being revealed, I didn't like that I heard through other people. I didn't love that there was a particular friend of his that pulled me aside one day and tried to tell me and like warn me that he was kind of like undermining him and I's connection and wasn't speaking super highly of me. He wasn't saying anything necessarily negative about me, but he wasn't speaking of me in a nice way either. And it was more so of like a way that made me look like I was entertaining the connection a little bit more than him. When in reality, at this point, I was more pulled away and I was more doing me, and he was trying to chase me a bit. Like I said, he ran to my car, dragged me out of my car, is trying to hang out with me, asking me where I went, gravitates towards me, please sit with me. I would be like leaving certain times and he would be like, no, stay, please. Like, I was never really going out of my way. But in hindsight, and hindsight really is 2020, I was putting myself out there to be seen by him. This was not coincidence. We weren't just seeing each other all the time because we were just seeing each other all the time. No, I knew where he was going to be. I knew his patterns. I knew his schedule. And it honestly aligned with my own personal schedule. Originally, I was doing the same thing with my friends. We liked to frequent the same places that he did. It just so happened that I knew when he was going to be there because he's predictable. And I ended up becoming predictable as well. That being said, I noticed myself slowly starting to become not myself. How I present to the world and to people, even people that know me, is a very confident woman, because I am. Confident, self-aware, self-actualized. I really love myself. I've nurtured my physical for a really long time, especially within that year. I was losing weight. I was really happy with how I was looking. I felt more beautiful than ever. And I knew how I was received by others. I think that life is a mirror, and how you view yourself is how other people view you. That's why I always tell you guys to start working on your confidence and your self-esteem, because what you show is what you get back. And I was getting received so well in society. And when I would go places and I would dress up, people would drop to their knees like, oh my God, you are gorgeous. Your energy, your magnetism. Like, I literally had a girl after me and my best friend Tiffany went to like this fair one time. And she was telling me like, Hailey, people are like so drawn to your aura and to your energy. And I'm like, I know. I'm like, I love that. It's like so nice. It makes me so happy. And literally right after she said that, we walk over to like this concession stand to get some food. And the girl looks at me that's like working the food counter, and she goes, you are very magnetic. And Tiffany starts laughing so hard. And the girl's like, what? And she's like, we were just talking about that, and that was such a unique thing to say. So I kind of wanted to give you guys context, because I've had so many experiences where people feel that way about me, and I love it and I embrace it. And it's something that I appreciate so much. And I feel the same way about other people. And it's funny, I felt that way about him. I felt like he was magnetic and he was someone that I was drawn to. And I hadn't felt that way about a man ever. And I noticed that I was slowly like losing my aura a little bit, because as someone who was always very confident, never would compare myself to others, would never really be threatened by other people, even in the past when I had ex-boyfriends like cheat on me or do things, I never like cared so much about the other woman. Like, I was like, whatever, like, what an idiot. To cheat on me is like the stupidest thing you could do. And it would always show in time. Like, they would always apologize. They would always regret it. And their life never ended up transpiring into anything positive. I saw myself in a different light when I would see Dimples doing things from afar. And again, time is an illusion. This is like weeks going by. This was after he tried to plan the date, after I confronted him about it, whatever and whatnot. And I noticed that he was doing things that I didn't love. And I remember feeling a tenseness in my chest. Like, I don't know if it was jealousy or if it was just anger, but it was something. I had tenseness in my chest about what he was doing. And I would find myself either trying to like fully avoid it and fully try to like leave and disassociate, or I would like try to match his energy. And that is not a game that I've ever played in my life. I don't do stuff like that. Like, I don't like matching energy in that way, because I don't need to prove that I can get guys or that I can talk to people. I'm always being approached when I'm out. And whenever I was out and him and I were together and I would like, let's just say leave and go to the bathroom or dance with my friends and a guy would approach me, I would like turn him down with absolute quickness, because I wasn't interested. I really wasn't. I was interested in him and I was interested in what we had. And I didn't feel this like incessant need to get someone. In these moments, I was noticing myself feeling those feelings of jealousy or anger or just feeling frustrated with him. I remember there was an evening that we had together again. And what was kind of scary about these evenings, at least for me, this was my first time experiencing this, was the more angry I was with him or the more stress I had in my heart, because again, remember, at this point, I was not expressing to him my true feelings. The sex was so much better. Like, the sex was so good when I was angry with him or when I was feeling these feelings. Like, I was so emotional. It was just something that to me like would make it really good. And that scared the fuck out of me. I'm like, holy shit. Am I toxic? Am I welcoming in a toxic cycle into my life that I've never experienced before? I did not think, and I was not aware that I was having feelings for him. I wasn't aware that I was feeling love of any sort. We started pillow talking, and that's kind of when it all went to shit, because I was starting to be a little bit more real and vulnerable, and I would try to get things out of him, and I wanted to get to know him, because the mystery of Dimples, I think, was also the appeal. He was quite mysterious, although he was charming and endearing. And when I would observe him, because I am an observer, I would notice how he would treat other people, how he would treat the friends that he had, the people that he would speak to, the bartenders, whatever. I loved how he treated other people. It was my favorite thing about him. And even when his friends would pull me aside and they would say like weird things about him, I used to get slightly offended because I'm thinking, he is so good to you. What makes you feel like you can say these things about him to me? I don't want to hear it. Like, I am not the person to do this to, because you guys have to be loyal to him. And he doesn't owe me anything. Like, I kept reminding myself, he owes you nothing. He owes you nothing. He owes you nothing. Anyways, back to what I was saying before. We were laying down and he was asking me about people I've dated and things that I've had going on and whatever. And in between some of our time together, I would divulge certain people that I met throughout the years. And again, I'm thinking that this is like a friendship, so I'm just sharing like little tidbits of my life with him. And I was telling him about how I met someone who I was not aware that they were using drugs. And the drug of choice that this guy that I was seeing at the time was using was cocaine. And I have never done drugs before other than smoking pot. And I also didn't go to college. I was never around people who were doing drugs. I actually lost one of my really good friends when we were super young. Like, she was 18 when she died, to a fentanyl overdose. I don't really know exactly what she was using when she passed, but she was doing cocaine and things like that, and heroin. She was someone that I loved, and I am so still saddened by her death. But drugs are a sensitive subject for me. I know a lot of people who have died from drugs, and as the years have gone on, even since she's passed, I've lost other friends to drugs. So it's just something that I'm not a fan of, and I don't find it to be flippant. I don't find it to be fun. I don't find it to be an unserious thing. I think it's very serious. So I was sharing with him that I was at this guy's house and I wanted to get a glass of water. And I opened up the cabinet and to get a glass, and I noticed when I opened up the cabinet that there was Narcan and fentanyl testing strips in his cabinet. I was floored. I looked back at the guy. I said, "What the fuck is this for?" And that's when he decided to tell me that he does use cocaine occasionally when he goes out. And I was taken aback by it. I did not like it. It really bothered me. And I was sharing this with Dimples. I could not believe the lack of reaction on his face when I said this, and it scared me for a moment. And he then proceeds to say out of his fucking mouth, "Do you think that like I don't do these things?" I'm perplexed. "Excuse me, what are you saying?" He's like, "I have never really been sober around you, like ever." When I tell you my heart was ripped out of my chest, I think I heard ringing in my ears when he said this, and I needed him to elaborate. And he proceeded to tell me that he occasionally uses cocaine, ecstasy, and little things here and there while mixing it with drinking when he's out. And I felt stupid because I did not know that he was on or was ever using drugs. Also, his profession is like crazy to even have as someone who is using drugs. And I don't want you guys to think that I am not empathetic to this, because I am. I am confused by it, but I always try to find out the why, like the reasoning for why people do the things that they do. And it just really confused me. And I needed him to like share more so that I can get a grasp on this. And I felt a little bit bamboozled. I felt fooled. I felt stupid. And I also felt disrespected. I'm not even going to lie to you. I have never heard a man speak to me like that. And he didn't say it in a way where he was trying to insult me or trying to hurt me. But that's the point. Like, he would say things not realizing the implication or not realizing the impact it had on a woman's emotions, especially a woman who is so passionate like myself, so loving and so giving. And I would not just give this version of me to anyone. And I think he knew that. I didn't know what to say. And I had always predicted in moments like this where if a guy had ever been caught doing drugs in front of me, or I found out that there was something like this going on and I didn't know about it, or even just meeting someone off the bat and they divulge this to me, that I would immediately be grossed out, get the ick, walk away, never speak to them again. And this was the first time in my life where I was like subconsciously making excuses. I wasn't making excuses to him. I told him, that is disgusting. That is horrible. Why are you doing that? If you're not addicted, if you're not obsessed with it, then what the fuck are you doing? Like, what is the point of doing that? And I was not aware you were on drugs ever. You don't give that vibe. Like, he was never giving me that vibe. And it's just scary how people are able to mask that or hide that, or I don't know. It's just, I didn't realize this. And again, back to what I was saying earlier in part 1 about my naivety, I have never been in a scene like this before. This is my first time being introduced to the bar scene, to the people that go there. And I would hear stories from other girls about how they would go home with the guy from the bar and never see him again. Like, that wasn't our situation. We were continuously seeing one another. We were in each other's lives. We were in each other's lives for months. And the situation was developing. Was it developing in a way that was to my best interest? No. Was it developing in a way that I would have wanted for any other guy? No, but there was something there and I was very thrown off. Fast forward, I tell my friends about this. They are again floored, but I don't know. I think that everyone was kind of like, Hailey, do what you want with that. Like, figure out how you're feeling. And I think I was feeling so many mixed emotions about it. I am such an empathetic person and I'm able to really identify why people do the things that they do. And I think I had said to him several times, like, you're trying to escape things. You are someone who gives and like doesn't give enough to yourself. And not that I was trying to heal him, but like I wanted him to feel loved when we were together. And it wasn't hard for me. Like, I wasn't trying to make him feel loved. It was just, I felt very strongly about him. I felt like I saw a version of him that he wouldn't accept in himself. Like, I saw an incredible, brilliant, amazing man. And he's imperfect. But what I was grappling with was I would meet guys all the time who would present to be really great and would have all of the things that I wanted in a partner. And then I would end up finding out that they were a narcissist or a genuine bad person. And the difference between him and those people was that he was a good person who did bad things. And I struggled so hard with that. It was just something that I could not wrap my mind around. And also I had found out that his father had passed away. And he never told me, by the way. Like, I would always find out these things through other people. He never told me. I remember I pointed out because he has a tattoo on his body and I asked him about it and he said it was like for his dad, but it sounded like it was more present tense. It didn't sound like it was for a parent that he lost. And I kind of was just like, oh, that's so nice. I bet he loves it. And I think he was like, yeah. When in reality, like, it was a tattoo in remembrance. My friends were starting to slowly see me change. That when we would all go out and we would see him, they would say, Hailey, you look defeated. You don't look like yourself. You are under a spell. This person is somebody that you're very interested in and intrigued by, but like, he is no longer someone that you have hope with. You don't have faith. You don't have hope. Like, you know what this is and you're mad at yourself because you know what this is. And that's the truth. I knew what it was and it hurt me that I wasn't able to really walk away and let it go. There were so many things that had happened, so many incidences that had happened. There was a night that he was completely strung out and it freaked my friends out. I didn't even see it because I was so used to this kid at this point that I think I was ignoring the majority of his behaviors. And it started to scare me when my friends were no longer charmed by him. Like, he was someone that everyone liked to be around, that everyone would enjoy hanging out with. And now they're pulling me aside and saying, he is a mess. He is not someone I want to be around. And I got scared. I'm like, holy fuck, like, am I missing something? Like, I genuinely felt out of the loop. Even though I knew what he was doing, I was under the impression that it was something that he would do any parties and it was under control and they were just not having it. And I took a little break. I took a huge break from him, actually. And I was trying my best to move on because I said to myself, like, I can't be with someone who's embarrassing me. I love that saying where it's like, God will show you the signs in private for you to determine what to do with that situation. And if you don't listen to God when he shows you the signs in private, then he then shows you the signs in public. And it's kind of like a humiliation thing or like an embarrassing thing because you have to now see it and everyone is going to see it as well. And what I was dealing with in private with this person was now becoming more and more apparent to everyone. And I found myself not sharing so much with people. I think in the beginning of our connection, I would tell my mom about him and my friends and my close friends, and then I stopped. I was like, oh, I ended it. And in reality, I hadn't. The only people that really knew that I was still dealing with him were the people that I would go out with. And I was just struggling with all these different emotions and feelings. And I think I lost myself a little bit in this connection because for the majority of my adult life, I've spent time working on me. And this was the first time in my life where I was never thinking of myself. I stopped thinking about myself and I was just living, which a part of that was great, but another part of that wasn't because I needed to do those internal check-ins. I needed to see, Hailey, what's going on? Like, what are you feeling? Like, what are you going to do? How are you going to handle this? And are you going to make the best decision for your life? And what you are not changing, you are also choosing. So I took a little bit of a break from him. I was doing me, I was dating other people, and I ran into him again. And we just gravitate towards each other. It's just light. It's fun. And of course, time does heal. And I wasn't fully done with him yet. I wasn't fully fed up. And this particular instance definitely showed that because he still was able to have a grip on me. And even my friends ended up being okay with him again because it seemed like he was sober. He was clean. He wasn't behaving as poorly. And the problem that I would constantly have with him was that we would talk more and more when we would spend time together. And I hated where the conversation would go because it would kind of lead into a little bit of a push and pull where he would say things like, I didn't lead you on. I'm not lying to you. This is what's going on. We can always go out to dinner. Like he was still trying to like hold on to our connection, but he wasn't giving me what I needed, the answers that I needed. He thought that I was still really angry at him for not honoring the date, which a part of me was, but it was more of a bigger picture. It was that I was pedestalizing someone and wanting something from someone who never deserved me, who never deserved my time. And I was more angry with myself. I wasn't angry with him. And I think that he was sensing my anger, but he was reading it incorrectly. It wasn't to him. It was with myself. It was with my inability to take things for what they were and see things at face value. But I was unwilling to let the connection go. But every time we would be together and every time we would spend time together, I felt more and more defeated and I felt more and more like I was doing myself a disservice. And then I found myself constantly like cutting him off and being like, just stop talking. It's fine. We don't really have to discuss this. It's ridiculous. And, you know, my friends were supportive, a little bit worried, but in the end of our connection, I think that everyone thought he was coming around. He was being a little bit more attentive to me, was definitely showing up in a way that seemed a little different and unique than his original self. He seemed a little bit more focused on me and more respectful towards me. Not that he was disrespectful before, but he just wasn't thinking of me when he was doing things. And I think at this point, it felt like he was thinking of me before he would do things. And I knew it was coming to an end because every time I would go out, I would be physically ill. I would feel sick, I would feel anxious, and it's so weird because how can someone that makes me feel so good and so regulated when I'm actually next to him, how can that person make me feel so anxious prior to seeing him? And I think I would just have like this anxiety of how the night was going to end or what was to expect. And my body was always right. So like whenever I would feel extremely sick would be a night that I would see him and something would happen. I just kept noticing and listening to my body. Like your body is always going to tell you something. Most of my friends were starting to see a difference and be like, oh, wait, I think he's going to do something. And I was like not super hopeful. But I was thinking, listen, if he does, there's still things we have to work out. We need to work out if he's still going to be using, because I'm not tolerating that. And again, I want you guys to understand, I am not capable of changing anyone. None of us are. And I didn't want to change him. I wanted him to want to change for himself. And I was hoping that his new job, his new life, that he was going to kind of exit that party college scene and start becoming more responsible. I knew that things were coming to an end because I end up seeing him in my car. We passed each other, and I was going somewhere, he was going somewhere else, and I never have seen this guy driving on the road. And this particular day, I was anxious. I was so anxious. I remember I told my friend, I'm like, I don't think I'm going to be able to meet up with you because I don't feel good. I mean, I was really going to try to make it. I wasn't feeling myself, and I felt extremely sick that day. And she's like, no problem, just let me know. And I ended up saying, you know what, I'll get ready, I'll go, let's hang out for a little bit. I think I'll be fine. And I remember looking in the mirror at myself and I'm like, get a grip. Like, I knew that I didn't feel well because of him, but I didn't want to acknowledge it because nothing even happened. Nothing even happened. The last thing that happened between us before this particular anxious episode was that we saw each other twice in 1 week and spent 2 evenings together. And that was like a big deal. Like, we've never really done that before. And I get in my car, I drive, and I pass him on the road. And I've never seen him drive before. So like, I don't know, like I almost didn't think it was him at first, but then we look at each other and he looked at me like he saw a ghost. That's what it felt like to me. He looked at me like he saw a ghost. And it freaked me out that I ended up calling my friend. I go, guess who I just saw? And she's like, hey, well, I'm like, Dimples. It was petrifying. Like, I don't know why it made me feel a type of way. And like everything that had happened between us, like flashed before my eyes. And it just felt weird to me. Like, I just felt like he did something. Now, to give you guys some context, I was taking myself out of the nightlife scene for a bit. And we decided to all have a girls' night at my house, do things, and just stay in. And I had been doing this on and off throughout the months anyways. But I said, you know what? Everyone is telling me that they think he's coming around. Maybe I need to take myself out of the equation and let him think for a little bit. And let him mourn my absence, and then he can kind of see what he wants to do and how he wants to show up for this. This day that I saw him in the car was right after that particular weekend. I don't know why my intuition and my gut, after I saw him and he looked at me crazy, made me feel like he did something that weekend. Rather than him missing me, thinking about me, possibly wanting to take me out and see where this connection is going, I felt in my spirit, and I don't know why, but I just did, that he had sex with somebody else. Now, I know what you guys are thinking, girl, he was probably sleeping with other people your entire connection. Maybe, but ignorance is bliss, and I never felt that way. I never felt like he was sleeping with other people. My body wasn't telling me that, and I really, especially in the beginning, didn't care because I wasn't fully in it at that point. But as time went on and things like that, and we would spend every weekend together, I really didn't think he was because we were spending every weekend together and he works throughout the week. I lit his ass up. I never do this. I never accuse him of things. I never get nasty with him. Granted, I've had like an attitude with him a few times, but he always thinks I have an attitude when in reality, it's just my personality. And it's always so funny. Like, he'll be like, why are you being so sassy? Why are you being so like nasty? And I'm like, I'm not. Like, it's just how I am. Like, I'm just sitting here. Because he would take my silence as me being mad at him. And I'm like, no, I'm just observing. I'm listening. I'm here, I'm present. I'm not needing to take over every conversation or be so chatty. I lit his ass up in text, and I never do that because I never wanted him to think I cared. But at this point, I did. And to go back a little bit, I had slipped up at one point and told him that I loved him, and he didn't say it back. And I was happy he didn't. I did not want to hear it back. And it wasn't something that I even knew I said. I didn't even know if he heard me say it, but I said it. And it was kind of like in a conversation too. Like, I was like, oh, like, you know, he doesn't know that I love you and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, holy shit, did you just say that? But I think he knew how I felt about him. I think it was very clear. I think everyone knew. All of his friends knew. People know. I finally get a hold of him, and he admitted guilt. He admitted it immediately. I said, I know what you did. Just admit it. Say sorry. And he apologized immediately. And I still don't know what he did, but he apologized for something. And that was enough for me. It hit me in that moment. You need to be done. This is God's way of showing you this was humiliation. This was embarrassment. And I believe that women who grow, evolve, and transform sometimes have to learn through embarrassing moments in their life. And I did in that very moment, because what was embarrassing to me was that I present as magnetic, as confident, as someone who loves themselves, which I do. And you go to a place that you and I frequent together and that everyone knows us at, and left with another woman when I wasn't there. I felt disrespected. I felt humiliated because I've been hooked on a person who did not think of me when they made a decision. I could tell like he didn't know what to say to me on the phone, and it was lingering for a moment, but I kind of was just like, yeah, it's fine. Like, I wish you the best. Like, I hope like the best for you and like whatever. And I remember hanging up, and this kid has never seen me cry, has never seen me like be super emotional. And I was actually driving to my friend Bridget's house, and I get out of my car and I collapse and I start crying hysterically. I did not know until that moment how much I cared about this person. I think I had been fighting it for a long time, and I've been trying to keep it real with myself, but I was in over my head. It was not lustful for me, and I made sure that I identified that because it was never for me about sex. I wasn't super drawn to him sexually. It was him who I liked. It was him I liked to be around. And he made me realize that I was capable of caring so deeply about someone who wasn't necessarily reciprocating the same care. I remember being like slightly embarrassed because a part of me felt like, did I hype this connection in my head the whole time? Was I being delusional about this the whole time? And I think a part of it was fueled by delusion. It was also fueled by hope. I had so much hope. And I didn't even realize that the hope was alive because a lot of my feelings for this person I buried very deep within me. I was trying so hard to be real with myself and pragmatic and approach it day by day. And that was becoming more and more impossible as time went on. In my reflection of this entire situation, I thought of so many things. I had a million mixed emotions. I think the first feeling that I had was disappointment in myself. I was really upset with myself for not standing my ground on things that I will not accept long-term in a person. I don't accept drug use. I don't accept somebody treating me less than I deserve. I don't accept somebody being nonchalant or flippant about me. And I accepted that for a brief time with this person. And my excuse in my mind was it wasn't so much about that I cared about how he treated me, but it was that I cared about him in general. I liked who he was as an individual. I thought he was a really cool guy, and I really enjoyed his presence, and I was trying my best to enjoy this individual without creating meaning, but it was very impossible for me. I think also a huge feeling that I had that overwhelmed me was the feeling of lack of trust in myself. And what's so interesting about moving the needle forward as a woman and growing and evolving is that progress, even if it's backwards or forwards, it's still progress. Sometimes learning lessons and going backwards and taking different steps is better than no movement at all. And I have to really give myself grace that this situation, although it's not unique to most people, it was unique to my life. It was not something that I knew how to handle. What I really observed from him was his consistency with just being a good person to everybody he knew. And I really enjoyed how kind he was to everyone. And then, even in my reflection deeper, I realized that all of the qualities that I initially enjoyed about him and that initially drew me to him were all qualities that I possessed inside. Me being someone who puts an outfit together really cool and is kind to people and is generous and takes care of my friends and is someone who is smart and intellectual. All of the things that I really enjoyed about him, those are all things that I have within me. And for some reason, I wasn't able to create that connection when I was admiring those things about him. People are mirrors, and what we see in others, usually we have within us. And I decided to pour all of the love into myself that I once was giving him, and the pedestalization that I was putting him on was unfair to him. It's unfair to pedestalize a person when they have not done anything to prove that they were deserving of it. And this is a huge reason why I am not angry with him. I think he really helped me change as a woman, evolve, and get to know myself better and deeper. When we put people on a pedestal, we are expecting something of them that they have never shown us. We are hoping and wishing and praying that they will show up as the person that we envisioned them to be. Rather than me doing that, I think what I should have done was allowed him to show me and then went from there. And although I thought that I was doing that, I still think that I was stuck on the original version of him that I liked, and that was fueling the situationship. It was keeping me holding on because I thought, oh, he surely will show me that version of him again. And I got glimpses of it, but it wasn't enough. And it wasn't what I needed. The woman that I am and the type of time that I have focused on myself, I realize how hard it is and how rare it is to meet someone who has put that same time into themselves. And another huge takeaway, and I'm hoping that this can help you guys, is to not take how people treat you personally. When I thought about sharing this story, I had so many uncomfortable feelings around it because I was afraid that my vulnerability would be viewed as weak or stupid and that you guys would judge me. And I'm sure somebody will. And I'm sure somebody is rolling their eyes at some of the things that I've said today. But I don't give a fuck. I literally don't care. I owned up to it. I know where I went wrong and I learned from it. And it took me going through this situation for the first time to see it. And I thought I for sure could learn this through others. But man, was I wrong. What I thought other people were experiencing, I thought that my situation was very different. I could not believe that it was possible to hold on to someone all because you just like them as a person. And I think some of the things that really helped me move forward was realizing that one, all of the things that I loved about him, I have within me. Two, I needed to go through this experience in order to know what to look for in my future partner. I now know that somebody fearlessly loving me, somebody really going after me, someone being communicative and real is what I'm looking for, rather than someone who blurs the lines. I think as well, I was unable to see that for him, it could have just been pleasure seeking. And I think that that was really hard for me to digest at first, that this man could simply say to someone, Hailey is not important to me. I don't care about her. I just wanted to fuck. And that disgusted me when I first put that in my mind. But then I realized that how he feels has nothing to do with me, and it doesn't invalidate my own personal experience. I am aware that I went off of nonverbal cues. I went off of consistency. I went off of admiration. I went off of delusion. But my feelings were very real. How I operated was authentic to me. What I felt about him was true. I'm grateful that I got to experience that. I don't feel like love is ever wasted, even if the person is not reciprocating it. And yes, it's hard to believe that that is a thing that we can accept as people. But I promise you, the more you go through life and the more aware you become, the less you are obsessed with other people loving you and you just live to love. I live to love and I live to learn. And that's that. It taught me a lot about myself. It taught me a lot about what I want. It brought me closer to God. It brought me closer to my friends. My friends were so wonderful to me during this time. And even my family, when I had told them that it had ended and all of this, and none of them even knew that we were still communicating, everybody was so supportive and nobody made me feel bad about myself. I no longer hold in my heart this sadness or obsession with somebody not loving me. I really do believe that after everything that I saw in this person, the good, the bad, and the indifferent, that I now realize that it is impossible for somebody to show up for me the way that I deserve if he can't even show up that way for himself. He does not love himself. And if he does, it's not enough. Based off of the way that he chooses to live his life and the things that he does, he has a long way to go. And I am praying for his healing because he's a great person and has immense potential. But it will no longer be allowed in my life. It will no longer be allowed to consume me because where your energy goes, it flows. And I was putting a lot of my energy into this connection, hoping, wishing, and praying that something would come of it or that something would change. And you can't change people. You can't make people care. I also think that another lesson I taught myself in this entire situation was to stop giving myself so much shit around sex, around intimacy. I have always had such toxic shame around sex and doing things that adults do and even just making mistakes. And I would beat myself up over it. That even prior to him and I's connection, I had went an entire year. I literally took a year off from having sex. I was abstinent and I'm so grateful that I did it. But I think that the reason that I did it was incorrect. It wasn't the right way. I think that now if I were to go abstinent again, it would be for self-love. It would be for taking a beat. It would be for me to work on myself and pour into myself. Where before it was like a punishment. I wanted to punish men and I wanted them to see that they can't get into me quickly. And that is misdirected action. I don't want to do things for a reaction. I don't want to do things to others. I want to do things solely for the benefit of myself. And if along the way I find people, I meet people, I love people, that's okay too. No part of me regrets anything. Although it was very traumatic and although I would never put myself through it again, I learned a lot about myself. And the greatest lesson of all is that I will always choose me over anyone. I want to conclude this story time by saying that I want this to be something that we do more often. I was so worried about how I was going to be perceived that I've always tried to present myself in a way that was motherly or perfect or just never made mistakes. And it's so ironic how the people that I gravitate towards the most, whether it's online or in real life, are people who are real, are people who share, are people who make mistakes and talk about it. Those people are the ones I feel connected to. And how can I judge myself so much for this situation when I don't judge other people when they share these things? If anything, I love a good story time. I love when people talk about what they've been through. It helps me understand people and myself better. So I think what I really wanted to say is I'm going to do this more. And the women that are girls, and the women who get it, and those who don't. I had already judged myself enough for the past 27 years. I'm not going to spend the remainder of my life walking around in shame. I rather just swallow the truth, go through life, experience some of the punches along the way, and keep it pushing. I hope you guys enjoyed this story time. I love you guys so much. If you guys are finding yourself in a situationship, I want you guys to give yourself all the patience you need, but still keep it real with yourself. Identify how your body feels. Identify what this is doing to you. Identify that long term, this is not going to be good for your life, and that who you surround yourself with and who you spend your time with really determines what your life looks like. It's okay to love people who hurt us, but we don't have to tolerate them. We don't have to be in their lives. We don't have to accept their poor behavior. I love you so much. Thank you so much for listening. And let's walk into the new year sharing a little bit more. Bye, everyone.